May I have your attention, please? I've been asked to let you know that unfortunately we will be delayed this morning by about 10 minutes. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Today's proceedings are being live streamed with a 10-minute delay. Those with electronic devices may report to the outside world what they have heard in the hearing room, but only 10 minutes after the event that they're describing has elapsed. Devices may not be used for recording or photography. Thank you. Mr. Barr.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Coles, at the end of yesterday's questioning, I left you with a thought for overnight about specific intelligence obtained via your infiltration of the supporters group. We've also been doing some homework overnight, and I'm going to put a couple of reports to you. You mentioned yesterday the case which ended up at Reading Crown Court.
Yes.
I'm going to come back to that a little bit later.
Very good.
So the two reports I want to put to you at this stage are, first of all, that which is in Volume 6, tab 145, 742252, please. If we could go to page 3. It's actually a nominal up-to-date and information pro forma.
Yes.
About a female individual. And if we go over the page, first of all, we should note the date, 15th of May, 1992, and then go over the page to the text at the top. Privacy is a committed animal rights activist, an ardent anarcho-feminist. She has recently become involved in a small group of equally committed activists who intend to take part in ALF-style liberation raids on chicken farms in the Surrey, Sussex and Kent areas bordering London, and has already been surveying likely targets with privacy. So there you see unspecific reference to a forthcoming intended attack. And if we zoom out and look at the names, we see that Andrea McGann and Jessica's name are in the list of SB references. And if we go back to the first page, you will see that they're both listed as associates of this individual. So my first question to you is, did you get this intelligence through the supporters group, or did you get this intelligence because you were mixing with this individual and her associates?
I think this predates my involvement with the SG, so I'm guessing I'm part of that network.
If we could take that down now and go to tab 189, 746, 424. This is an event pro forma about a forthcoming event for the night of the 29th to the 30th of September 1992. George is attempting to organise an action during the night of the 29th to the 30th of September. It seems likely that this action will consist of the liberation of animals in an inner-city farm in the London area. The target farm is apparently due for closure, and the animals destined for the slaughterhouse. George is known to be closely associated with the occupants of Jessica's East London address and has previously used this address to launch animal liberation actions. It is likely that this address will again be used as a starting point for this action. An alternative starting point could be Privacy, the home of privacy. Then it lists associates. Over the page, 2 pages over, there's then a manuscript list of inner city farms with some notes which are following up the clue in the report about whether or not they're still a viable concern or whether they're on the brink of being closed down.
Yeah.
So this appears to be intelligence which is specific about a date but not about the precise target. First of all, can you help us? Is this intelligence that you gathered?
I can't be certain, It's about the time of SLAG, which was the South London Animal Group, which I think I went to one meeting, and I know that George was there. I'm only guessing that that's where this information has come from, so it's possible, but it's not one I remember particularly.
Okay. Could you help us with George? In a couple of sentences, how would you describe George?
Paranoid, alarmingly aggressive, unbalanced.
Discreet?
No.
If this is your intelligence, is it likely you got this from mixing with George or through the ALFSG?
My guess it was through a SLAG meeting at the 121 Centre, if I'm right, but I think that was the time when he came to South London to speak about planned actions that he had with interested people. So I'm guessing I'm putting one and one together. I might be making two erroneously.
That exhausts the homework on our side. We have not found a report of yours which we can pin down with specific actionable intelligence, which appears to us to have come from your involvement with the ALFSG.
Right.
How did you get on with your homework?
I've been trying to think about the number of people that spoke to me knowing that I was involved in the SG. I think, apart from the case that we've mentioned that we'll get to later, I think often it was someone asking in guarded terms, what would the SG provide if someone did something? So I think that's where that goes from. But in terms of specific events by people that were planned, no, I can't remember anything specifically there.
Thank you. Can we take that document down now, please? Can we go in file 4 to tab B, Roman numeral 4-3, 740953. This is, if we expand it so you can see the date, this is the 13th of October, 1992. So by that stage, Jessica would have been in France, wouldn't she?
Correct, yeah.
And it's a report about Jessica. And if
Yes.
we could expand the text, please. I'll give you a moment to cast an eye over that. We can go to the signature page in a little while, but it's signed by an officer and then countersigned by HN67.
Right.
And my first question to you is going to be, is this intelligence reporting that has emanated from the SDS? I can tell you that we don't think the actual officer who has signed it was serving with the SDS at the time.
If I could just find who HN67 is, if you'd just give me a second, please. Right, yeah. It looks to me like it's an SB1 and up to date. It would generally be done by a desk officer, normally 6 monthly, and there'd be an RBF system so that every 6 months a file would come back for update. It looks to me like it's an SB1 to go on that file, so potentially there are mentions behind, then the desk officer would have put this SB1 together, including not just information that I might have passed in, but also general information about someone's identifying particulars and driving licence, passport, that sort of thing.
So in a nutshell, something to which your intelligence might have contributed.
Yes, there might have been, some of the mentions would have then informed this report, yeah.
And this report, as you'll see, contains a lot of specific information about Jessica, about her birth, her education, her parents' details,
Yeah.
Paragraph 2. Can I take it that someone in C Squad will have researched things like the background of her parents and where they reside and what their telephone number is, or will that have come from you?
No, it's standard for a desk officer to do generational research on subjects.
And Paragraph 3, address, employment, national insurance number,
Yeah.
that sort of thing, DSS
Yeah.
details. Again, would that have been researched in the C Squad
C-Squad,
team?
yes, that's correct.
For driving licence and passport. Someone appears to have got the passport wrong because she plainly must have had a passport to go to France.
Exactly.
5, criminal record. And there are some details of the incident at the Horse and Hounds Ball arrest towards the bottom of that I'd like to take your attention to. Her arrest resulted from an animal activist demonstration outside the Dorchester Hotel in Park Lane, where a society function was taking place. Jessica threw a flower bomb at a car and subsequently viciously attacked the police officer during her arrest. Are you able to help us where this came from?
I think that might have been the officer's evidence for the court case. It wasn't something that I would have been able to phrase in that way because I was a bit distant from it. Could I just say, I realised this morning, just checking my statement, I had made an error when I said, talking about the flower bombs, I think I said I didn't see what had happened. I've checked my statement, I did actually see it, so I do apologise, I've misdirected you there. So I think I saw the first person that threw the flower bomb, and the second I couldn't be sure which one it was. So I just wanted to clarify that I may have got that wrong in my evidence yesterday.
The Mini, paragraph 6, vehicle ownership, paragraph 7, her description is as follows: height, more identifying details which we've had to redact. The photograph submitted is an excellent likeness.
Yeah.
Can I ask you to, if you've had an opportunity to see a rather poor copy of this photograph.
Some time ago, yeah.
Well, it's at the back of the bunch of photographs that you were shown very recently.
Is it possible to see a copy of it?
Yes.
Would that be all right?
Well, it's no, you can't put it up because the... Okay. I will come back to that when we can refresh your memory from the photograph. And if we go over the page, please, to paragraph 8. First came to notice of this branch in June 1992 when secret information received reported that she is an animal activist. She is an associate of fellow activists Privacy, and Privacy. It is known that Jessica frequents a Hopefield Animal Sanctuary, Sawyers Hall Farm, Sawyers Hall Lane, Brentwood. And then we see the special branch references. And the one for Jessica shows that by this stage she has a registry file, doesn't she? Now, that first coming to the notice of special branch, was that as a result of your mixing with her and reporting on her?
It says this branch, so the Met Police special branch. Yeah, probably me.
Yeah. I want you to hold the fact that she's got a registry file by the time of this report in October 1992 in mind. And I want to go back, first of all, to the document in file 6, tab 138, 730970, please. This is a proforma, nominal up-to-date and information proforma, dated the 1st of May 1992, which is about a different person, but in the associates, Jessica is one of the associates. Do you see that?
I do, yeah.
If we go over the page, and we see Jessica mentions Ray animals. Our understanding is if someone is not fully on the special branch radar, but is coming up, being mentioned in reporting, that's the way it's recorded.
Normally, yes. Until you get 5 mentions, generally you wouldn't get an RF. So, yes, that's correct.
And then if we take that down and go to the document in the same file, sir, at tab 159, 745980, And we looked at this yesterday. This is the specific up-to-date and information pro forma about Jessica dated the 26th of June 1992. And that may well explain the reference to June in the October report, mightn't it?
It might well, yes.
And if we see on the second line, the URN, RF mentions. So at that stage, Jessica is still someone who is low on the radar.
Yeah.
But by October, she's got an RF file.
Yeah, that's right, yes.
Would it be fair to say then that it's your reporting on Jessica that leads to Jessica having an RF file?
I wouldn't be at all surprised.
With all the consequent investigations that we went through as recorded in the October
Yes.
report.
Yeah.
We have now got the photographs. We have to be very careful not to hold them in a way that the camera will pick up. But I'm going to have the photograph that was referred to
Thank you.
in the October report shown to you.
Thank you.
It's not a great quality reproduction of a photograph.
No, that's right.
We readily accept that. But insofar as you can tell, would that be a good likeness of Jessica as she was in the summer of 1992?
I would guess I'm imagining that that's severally photocopied and you've lost the imagery, but I guess it looks a bit like a passport photo or something like that. So, yeah, probably good likeness.
I'm specifically interested in her hair.
Okay.
And you can, I think, if you look at the photograph, see that the hair goes down to at least shoulder length and below.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Can we, so have you got the photograph or would you like to see it?
No, I know which it is.
Could we now take this document down and go in bundle 4 to tab B, Roman numeral 4, 2, 740939. And then if we go to page 1 at the bottom, if we could have that note blown up, thank you. It's a note signed by DIHN67, who we understand to have been the DI of the SDS at the material time.
Yes.
Dated 19th of October 1992, so it would appear to be at about the same time as the October report, a few days later, 6 days after the October report I showed you earlier. Information from a secret and reliable source states that Jessica's photograph is now a poor likeness. She now has very short hair and is much less feminine in appearance. Is the secret and reliable source stating that by the autumn of 1992, Jessica had very short hair yours?
Possibly, yes.
We've got a poor quality reproduction of the photograph, which does at least appear to show that she did not, on the photograph, have very short hair. The other photographs in the bundle, which you've seen, date from a trip to France after Jessica had lost her job there, show she has very long hair.
Yes.
And she's given evidence that her hair could not possibly have grown from very short to that length between the autumn of 1992 and when those photographs were taken.
Right.
Can you help us with why it is being reported that she now has very short hair in October 1992?
I can't help, I'm sorry. It's obviously someone's asked information about the appearance, whether the photograph's a good likeness or not, and someone has said it's very short hair. Possibly it's me. I can't help you with that conundrum, I'm afraid.
When you last saw Jessica, before she departed to France, did she have very long hair, very short hair, or something else?
Gosh. I think long hair.
Could we take that down, please? Could we have up from volume 2? I'm being told to pause because we've got to stop the stream. I'm going into territory which can't be live streamed.
Very good.
There must be no disclosure or publication made of information stated during this hearing today between 10:50 and 10:52. Please don't worry, everybody makes these mistakes. I made it myself yesterday. Yes.
Towing Jessica's car.
Yes.
The account that EAB has given is that when you got to Jessica's parents' house, there was a heated conversation between you and Jessica's parents. Did that happen?
No, I only ever met Jessica's parents once, and that was at the event I spoke about earlier, probably for no more than 15 minutes. And from what I understand, they don't remember that interaction either.
EAB's evidence is that she was told by Jessica's mother that you had sought to persuade her to speak to Jessica to get the relationship back together.
That's a complete fabrication. The whole thing is a complete fabrication.
She says that you had to be persuaded to leave the premises, and when you were persuaded to leave the premises, Jessica's father was so worried about her safety that she rang to ensure that she got safely home.
This is the same man who made a statement who said he didn't remember me. It's clearly false.
EAB says that you asked her if you wanted to do anything more radical by way of protest, and she said no. Did you ever ask her if she wanted to do anything more radical?
I refer you to my earlier answer.
She says that you pressed her into fly posting and you were stopped by the police in the course of doing that.
That happened. Not that I was stopped, but that the police came and tried to stop us, and they didn't.
Can we start at the beginning? In what circumstances did you and EAB go out fly posting? In what circumstances did you and EAB go out fly posting?
From memory, and it's not brilliant, but I think we had some posters to put up about an event, and we went out together to stick them up. And there was I can remember a council-owned bill posting board made out of metal. We stopped there, I stuck one on the back of it, and then the police stopped and had a word with us about fly posting, and I pointed at the sign that said, for posters, and then they left us alone.
Did you invite EAB to come out fly posting with you?
I may have agreed to help her doing it. Honestly, I can't remember that detail.
Well, her account is that you pressed her to do so. Is that true?
I can't remember.
She also recalls at some point you saying to activists, you lot don't want to do anything. The implication being that you were trying to probe to see if they would do something more serious than they actually were doing. Did you ever say anything like that?
To whom, when? And it's not assisting me by just saying I said that. I would say that's probably made up.
Could we go to tab 251, please, sir? 739633. If we go to the body of the report. This is a report dated the 21st of May, 1993. It's about EAB. It says, personal documents belonging to EAB, a well-connected and increasingly important animal rights activist, have been obtained. Photocopies of the documents are attached to this report. EAB is the subject of numerous special branch references which have not yet been indexed. What follows, we can look at very quickly, is a series of personal documents. If we can go to the next page. You can see there's a copy of a driving license, a library card, and a bank card which has branch number, an account number, and a serial, just upside down here, serial number. And if we can go to the next page. Appears to be a list of names and phone numbers and some travel directions. Appears to have come from an address book. And if we go to the next page, and the next page, and the next page, more, it appears to be a photocopied address book.
Of course, yeah.
Is that it, or if could you just keep going till we run out of pages, please? Yeah, more addresses. There we go. And that's back. And that's a bank. That's from a building society.
Yeah.
Did you obtain this intelligence?
I've been trying to, I think in my statement I said I don't remember. I'm not entirely sure, but there's one or two occasions where that might have been possible, yeah.
And how would you have obtained it?
My best guess here is that there was a raid on London Zoo, a number of people were arrested, and a lot of their personal belongings were left in my van because I was driving people there. And I think I then had an opportunity to get the personal details copied from documents that I found that were within my van. I remember certainly there was 3 exposed sets of photographs that I had developed so I could give back to people because I didn't know whose they were. I don't specifically remember this, but that would be the sort of way that I could have had this personal information available, yeah.
And why did you want all of this personal information?
It's excellent intelligence about the person's connections and antecedents.
To what use was this intelligence put?
It would have gone in as a report about the individual's associates, and their banking details were available for research. And so if a financial investigator required it, it was there.
Did you have any guidance from your managers about the circumstances in which you could take and copy very private information like this?
This was pretty much normal practice if you had the opportunity to take down such antecedent detail, you did.
So I can take it, no management criticism of this?
No.
Can we take that down now, please? And could we have up 37092? Page 49. This is Jessica's witness statement. Paragraph 5.13. The only incident I was aware of before 2017 was what Andrea McGann reported to me back at the time I was living in Jessica's South London address with QK. Andrea told me that Coles had tried to kiss her one time when I was away in France. She didn't know that he and I were in a relationship at the time, and although she told him that she wasn't interested and rejected his advances, she felt very bad about it when we realized I was dating him at the time. If you could hold that in mind, and if we take that down now, please, and have up 34357. Which is a Powerbase article about you. Can we go to page 4, please? And if we expand the section under the heading Inappropriate Behaviour with Women. Our understanding that in this section of the Powerbase article, Andrea McGann is Emily.
Okay.
About halfway down, just above, it says a key focus of Andy was Hunt Sab and animal rights activist Emily. She believes Andy had focused on her in particular as she was friends with high-profile animal liberationists outside of London. Shirley noted, it was common knowledge that Andy Van was sniffing around Emily. It was sort of the established norm that he had a big thing for her. He was clearly keen to maintain his friendship with her, which she tolerated, though found him lecherous and annoying. Shirley also recalls how Emily told her at the time he had made a move on her. Emily had been caused distress for some reason and was in her room. And he joined her there, put his hand on her knee, and tried to kiss her. This was 1993, while he was still in a relationship with Jessica, though she was in France at that point. When interviewed, Emily referred to him as a creep and told of another situation where he tried to force himself on her. She was in the process of leaving London and knowing she needed a place on her last night. Andy invited her to stay at his bedsit, where she reluctantly accepted. There he tried to sleep with her, clearly aroused, and being insistent despite her making it very clear she was not interested. First of all, can I take it from your earlier answers that you did have a policing interest in Andrea McGann, not least because of some of her contacts?
Absolutely, yes. I met her originally in South London Animal Aid meeting. We sort of bonded as clearly not interested in purely lawful activity, and that's when we first got to know each other.
And from the evidence here, is it right that she had contacts with high-profile animal liberationists outside London?
Very much so, yeah, particularly in Manchester.
Might you have behaved in a way which gave rise to an understanding that you were to use the term sniffing around Emily?
No, we were good buddies. I mean, she was an extraordinary young woman. We got on really well. We were good friends.
And did there come a time when she had been caused some distress and you were in a room with her?
I don't remember that particular incident. I remember we spent some time together in Hastings, visiting another activist, and we shared personal details. I mean, she was very much in love with the individual where we were staying, and it was unrequited, and she was quite upset about that. I'm imagining that's the incident.
Did you?
But we were close. We were brother sister. We were very close.
Did you put a hand on her knee?
No.
Did you?
She'd just slap it off if I did. No, we didn't have that sort of relationship.
Did you ever put your hand on Andrea McGann's knee?
It's entirely possible.
In what circumstances?
I don't know. We were buddies.
Did you try to kiss Andrea McGann?
No.
Did you do so while you were still in a relationship with Jessica?
I didn't try to kiss her. I was not ever going to kiss her because I knew where her love lay, and it wasn't with me.
The Powerbase article says that when they interviewed Emily, she referred to you as a creep. Might you have behaved in a way which would have caused her to form that view?
Well, why would she stay with me for a week when she was evicted, if that was the case?
Presumably because she needed somewhere to stay.
Well, she asked me if I could help her out, and I agreed because we had this buddy relationship. I was very happy for her to stay, not for much longer because it was quite limiting, but she eventually found a place to stay. I think it was at the South London address that we've mentioned before.
Did there come a time when she was in the process of leaving London and needed a bed for her last night?
This might relate to her fact of losing her accommodation as a student, which is when she stayed with me for a week.
What were the sleeping arrangements during that week?
Just one double bed in the room.
Did you sleep together in the same bed?
Yes, we did, yeah.
What physical contact was there between you in that double bed?
Well, we slept together in the bed, side by side.
Literally or euphemistically?
Literally.
Was there ever a time during the course of that week sharing a double bed with her where you were aroused?
I can imagine I might have woken up one morning and given that impression, yes, let me put it that way.
Yes. Did you make any sexual advance to Andrea McGann at any point during that week?
No, that wasn't our relationship at all.
Was there any physical contact between you in the bed?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, when you're asleep, you move around, don't you?
Any physical affection
Yes, we had affection, yeah.
that involved cuddling, touching, hugging, anything like that?
No. Like a brother and sister, that's the best way to describe our relationship.
Why would Andrea McGann say that you had made 2 sexual approaches to her if you had not?
It's very damaging reputationally to do that to me. It follows the same process that others have used.
Did she show any sexual interest in you during that week?
Absolutely not. No, as I said, I keep on saying, we have a very much brother-sister relationship.
Thank you. Could we take that down, please? The witness we are calling Callum
Yes.
says that you told him that you had had a one-night stand with a northern woman. Did you say that to him? Or anything to that effect?
I think that's talking about my legend about my having a relationship and having a child. I guess where that's come from.
That was in the past, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
The impression that Callum had was that you were telling him that you'd had a one-night stand with a northern woman.
It's not what my legend was prepared like, no.
An activist that you knew?
No, it was my legend was this relationship that failed with a child that I wasn't able to see.
Not the result of a one-night stand?
No, it was a short relationship, if I remember rightly.
Did you, during the course of your undercover deployment, ever have a one-night stand with a woman from the north?
No.
Robin Lane has given evidence that he introduced you to a French woman who was vegan.
Right.
And that you had a one-night stand, had a date which resulted in a one-night stand with the French woman. Did you have a one-night stand at any point during your deployment with a French woman?
Well, I didn't know, and as far as I know, what she said was that she didn't remember anything of the sort.
I beg your pardon?
I think she said in a statement she didn't know anything of the sort when she was asked. I think I've read that in the documentation.
She didn't remember, that's what I'm being told.
Exactly. Didn't happen, so how would you remember it?
Robin Lane's girlfriend, who we are calling Tanya,
Right. Are you sure?
That's my
Doesn't
understanding.
accord with my memory.
I beg your pardon?
That doesn't accord with my memory about the
Doesn't.
girlfriend, no.
Well, let's stick with the woman who we are calling Tanya.
Yes.
Robin Lane's evidence is that Tanya found you creepy. Might you have behaved towards Tanya in a way which made her feel that you were creepy?
Well, I can tell you that the contact I had with Tanya was fleeting. I went to Tanya's birthday party. I was invited. Later on, after the Fanasa laboratory raid and a load of animals were around at another activist's address, there were a number of male rabbits that started to kill each other, so they wanted to get rid of the rabbits. And I was asked to take them round to Tanya's address because she would look after them, which I did. At another time, I was again tasked to see if she was still involved in the movement, and I popped round to see her. And then I think we smoked a joint. I think it was skunk. I was almost wasted, and I slept over in the adjoining room with the rabbits. That's the only contact I had with her. It's really quite fleeting.
Did you help her move a fridge?
I don't remember that. It's possible.
Can I ask you in the round? Now, I've put a great deal of evidence which is adverse to you
Yes.
about your behaviour towards female activists. Why is there so much evidence if it's all untrue according to you?
The allegations are significant because I was able to infiltrate the organisation and largely ruin their parade. Also at the time was Deputy Police and Crime Commissioner for Cambridgeshire and a Conservative politician, so utter anathema. The best attack you can have is to be attacked in this way with your character being rubbished and your behaviour being called into question. And it's all of a similar sort of ilk about me being inappropriate with women, having relationships with women that I didn't have. And my feeling is that it's been planned that way, that all that information was given roughly at the same time, and that they colluded to produce it. After all, I'd seen them collude before. That's my view of it.
A massive conspiracy and...
Not a massive conspiracy, just a few people colluding together.
a few people conspiring together
Exactly.
and giving false evidence to this inquiry.
Yeah.
Can we now go to what I've been colloquially calling the Reading case?
Yes.
If we have up, please, 742247. Thank you. We can go to the main body of the report. This is a report dated the 5th of February 1992. It's signed by HN67 on behalf of the Chief Superintendent. We understand it to be based on your intelligence. And if we could look at paragraphs 2 to 4, please. Within the last fortnight, firebombs destroyed 2 butchers' vehicles in Reading. The ALF group involved in the attack are thought to have originated from Manchester, but may have included London-based activists Andrea McGann, Privacy, and Privacy. It is not possible to confirm the identities of the Manchester-based group, but it is known that McGann, Privacy and Privacy spent a week together at an undisclosed location in the company of experienced ALF activists. Additionally, it is known that Privacy and Privacy left London on or around the 1st of February 1992 to move to Sheffield. And then it gives Andrea McGann's telephone number. Is this your reporting which more than a year later was the subject of the judicial direction that you have referred to in your evidence?
No, it's not this case. I don't think so. I think this one's different.
What is your evidence, without naming any names, about the circumstances in which you provided intelligence which a judge ultimately ordered should be disclosed at trial?
Okay, let's see if I get this right. A year prior to an arrest, 2 individuals came to see me and said they were planning to attack butchers' vehicles in a location. They didn't set the date that they would do it, and that it was going to be an ALF action, and would I arranged to support them were arrests to have taken place. Roughly a year later, these 2 individuals, plus I think a third one or maybe even 4, were stopped driving in the Reading area by a traffic officer. It was an excellent stop because in the boot were unused incendiary devices primed and ready to go. They were therefore arrested being in possession of incendiary devices. So the attack was foiled. And then when it came to the Crown Court case, because my original report detailed 2 of them coming to see me to say that was going to be what they were going to do in the future, it went into what would have been the unused bundle. And this is very early days of CPIA, so I think the bundle then went for the judge to have a look at it, who thought that it was relevant to the inquiry, even though the arrest was completely coincidental and wasn't connected with any intelligence at all. But the judge thought it was important, so he wished to introduce it as evidence. I remember being asked about that and saying, look, this is only me and 2 individuals discussing this, so it will reveal me immediately. Eventually, they decided that they would discontinue the case with negotiations through CPS because of that vulnerability. And I do remember a news report where these individuals concerned said the only reason we've got off is that the police hold information about us that they weren't prepared to disclose. I remember that clearly, but that wasn't exactly right. It was that my identity was kept secure, and as a result, a perfectly good arrest of people about to burn down a perfectly legitimate business was foiled, and unfortunately it couldn't go through the process of justice.
Can I go to the consequences of those events, please? Can we go in file 2 to tab B, little 1, 18? Seven 37237. This is quite a long document. It's headed Animal Rights National Index, top right, 23rd of June 1993, disclosure issue, trial of. This appears to be about the fallout from these events. And could we go first of all to paragraph 4? I'll give you a moment to look at that paragraph, which goes slightly over the page. That records the decision-making process that you've described. And if we go in page 2 of this document, so the next page, at the bottom, there's a conclusions paragraph 7. If we could have that expanded, please. And you'll see from the conclusions that the author of this document certainly thought it had put the cat among the pigeons. Is that fair enough?
That's my memory of it, yeah.
If we look at subparagraph 3 in particular, whilst the decision by the judge in this case may be a perverse one, we must assume that it may happen again in the future, Arnie has a high profile within ALF circles, and they will certainly use the Reading decision as a precedent. In all future cases, we expect a demand for material held at the index to be disclosed, and we must carry out an urgent review of the extremely sensitive material we hold to evaluate whether its retention is essential. So minds are being turned towards what to do about this.
Correct, yeah.
Can you recall being involved in any discussions about what to do about the situation that had arisen?
The only thing I remember was that the management said to me, be very careful about what you report until we can sort this out. It was very much we don't quite know how this is going to go. CPI is brand new. The unused material stuff wasn't settled, and so it was sort of a bit of, before we get into further difficulties, please don't report as much as you have been.
What specifically were you asked not to report?
I think at the beginning it was, don't bother reporting anything because we're not quite sure how this is going to go. It was sort of almost a blanket ban.
And how long did that last for?
I can't remember exactly. It wasn't a short thing. It took some time to sort out.
Was that a ban that applied to just to you, and no names, please, being very careful about restriction orders, or did it apply to the whole unit?
I don't know for sure, but I know it applied to me. Not all of the people deployed were in the similar situation of being involved in crime.
Without identifying any specific person, did it apply to anybody other than you?
Again, I can't be sure. I remember the discussions between the management and myself. I think that was a one-to-one. I don't remember a sort of general discussion about it.
Can we go, sir, in the bundle to tab B, little 119, on the display 737233, please? This is a special branch memorandum dated the 2nd of July 1993, signed by the then head of the SDS, HN 86. I'll give you a moment just to cast your eye over the text, if that could be expanded, please.
Yes.
And this is a document which is covering a paper produced by Detective Sergeant Webb, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a paper with a proposal as to how to change intelligence reporting and record keeping.
Yes.
With a view to avoiding the involvement of SDS officers and their intelligence in the CPIA disclosure regime.
Yes.
Was this discussed with you?
Very likely. I have a hazy memory of this.
Was the system in fact ever changed, or did you ultimately just revert back to reporting in the way that you always had?
I reduced my reporting substantially, and I think there's a lot of verbal reporting that took place for it to be handled differently, but that's my memory of it.
How was the oral reporting handled?
I'd telephone in with issues, and I think that they then had a system in place in the office to deal with it, but again, I'm not entirely sure how this worked.
To record it in writing?
I don't know how it worked.
During the course of the conversations that were had on this subject, was any consideration given to ensuring that justice was done?
If there was relevant intelligence we had that could be got into the system, then it would be done, but there were some issues around how it would be protected. So, again, this was a decision for the office, not for me. You provide the information, they'd make those decisions.
Can you recall any discussions about how that was going to be done?
I didn't go into the practice of it, no.
Can you recall anybody expressing any concerns to ensure that justice was done?
No, I can't remember anything specifically.
If it was said that this proposal was a wholly improper device to subvert the legislative intent of the CPIA, what would you say?
I think the problem was it was so new, people didn't quite understand how to handle unused material, and there were some issues, until that became settled and understood, that there were some problems with handling. But it was, as far as I was concerned, I was just doing what I was told, which was to reduce my reporting and to make verbal commentary on the telephone if I needed to get anything across.
I mean, we've got your reporting in the bundles. I mean,
Yeah.
you did continue, on the face of the papers, you appear to have continued reporting in essentially the same way.
I think there's a difference between reporting on matters and then reporting on specific criminal activity relating to individuals that might end up in an arrest. I think that's the difference.
And is it your evidence that you changed the way that you reported that back to your managers so it was purely oral?
I think so, and this is what I remember, but again, it's a hazy memory for me.
And was that a permanent change for the rest of your deployment?
I was getting towards the end of my deployment. I think I was winding down a bit at that stage, so actually my level of reporting had reduced somewhat, but
You were...
my contacts weren't really in terms of people actively involved in crime, as far as I remember at that stage.
You were deployed for more than another year after this.
Exactly, yeah.
So there was quite a lot of reporting still.
There was still reporting on individuals, that's right, yeah, and some events as well, but this is specifically about individuals about to be engaged in crime or actually actively engaged in crime at the time, I think.
And is it...
Again, I'm struggling to remember, you'll forgive me.
Well, is it your evidence that you didn't report that in writing after this date?
I don't think so, but I'm not exactly clear on it.
So would that be a convenient moment to take the morning break?
Certainly. We'll break for 15 minutes.
All right.
Thank you, sir. I'm afraid, Mr. Coles, legislative confusion has crept into your evidence and my questions, which I need to correct. The CPIA
Yes.
got royal assent in July 1996. We've been talking about a report in 1993.
Right.
The legal framework at the time was the Attorney General's guidelines of 1982.
Thank you. Yeah.
But
I was somewhat struggling with it myself.
The same point apply. It was an intention to try and get around the guidelines and preserve the operational security of the SDS.
Yes, yeah.
As to your reporting subsequently, could we have up, please, 737238? It's tab C275, sir. Page 2. This is a November 1993 report about Robin Webb.
Yes.
Paragraph 6. Most recently, Webb has shown great enthusiasm for the actions of the animal rights militia. It remains to be seen if he has personal knowledge of the IEDs that were discovered at Watford sorting office, the two devices that injured two animal abusers in Berkshire and Oxfordshire, or the hoax device sent to the employee of Glaxo in Hertfordshire. However, in an unguarded moment at the London Greenpeace Fair on the 30th of October 1993, he joked, "I've infiltrated the RSPCA, I've infiltrated the ALF, and now I'm infiltrating the ARM." So it would appear that at least some intelligence about a specific individual in relation to suspected ARM involvement is being reported by November of 1993.
Yeah, as the press officer for the ALF, of course, he was being very careful not to do that. But in private moments, you might say that he was supportive of more radical action.
And the ARM, presumably in terms of your intelligence goals, knowing who was active under the ARM banner, presumably pretty close to the top of the list.
Yeah.
This, I think, is one of the very few references to the ARM in your reporting.
Right. Yes.
And I'm being reminded that in your witness statement you were ordered at one point by HN86 to withdraw because of away from a potential of being drawn into ARM activity because the criminality was too
Exactly.
serious.
It was to reduce my involvement there, yes.
But from the point we were just pursuing before the break, you are, when you get some specific intelligence, reporting it by November 93.
Yes, just to show the hypocrisy of the ALF press officer in talking actually about much more serious crime.
Could we take that down now, please? Can we go in volume 2, tab B, little 1, 28, to 746099? This is a document about a threat to the operational security of the SDS posed at the time by Detective Sergeant Mike Chitty. Could we go to page 7, please? Paragraph 9, under the heading Specific Threat to DS Andy Coles. And you will see there it says, it will be recalled that DS Chitty has one ace in his hand in terms of his links as Mike Blake to the ALF, his long-standing friendship with former ALF press officer Robin Lane. And then if we go over the page, DS Andy Coles, with 3.5 years undercover experience in the animal liberation field, is a close associate of Robin Lane and operates in the same area of South London as Mike Blake. They both recently attended an animal rights farewell meal in Streatham. Prior to that occasion, D.S. Coles had no knowledge of ever having met D.S. Chitty. D.S. Chitty has since made it known that he suspects the man he met that day by the name of Andy to be the current South London ALF SDS officer. He has indicated that he wants to speak to him to warn him. His efforts to date have been thwarted. Can I start, first of all? The background here is the concern was that Mike Chitty might do something which would compromise the operational security of the SDS or some of its officers, including you.
A highly manipulative mover, yes, to try to get off his potential sacking offence and financial irregularities, yes.
The farewell meal in Streatham, at which you were both present, can you assist us? Was that the first time that you had seen D.S. Chitty mixing with activists after his deployment?
The only time, and actually it wasn't a farewell meal, it was a birthday party for Tanya.
Did you recognise him?
I'd never met him before.
So how did you come to know that a former SDS UCO had been at the same meal as you with your targets?
Yes, good question. He turned up with a girlfriend and they had a baby and it was odd. He left. I asked Robin Lane who he was. He said, we think he's the special branch spy that was sent to us before. Watch out about him. Very strange. So I reported it and I was told, yes, we know who that is now. And then can you write a report outlining the circumstances, which I did.
Was the woman in question the woman that we are ciphering as Lizzie?
I have to take your advice on that. I see one and only time I met the person, so if you're saying that's the person, I'd accept it, but I couldn't tell you myself.
I'm not allowed to give evidence, so we'll have to leave it there. Can we now go to your manager's reaction? What was your manager's reaction to your reporting that the person we now know to be Mike Chitty was at that meal?
Asked me to write a full report on it, and I didn't see this report about the management action that was decided. I wasn't party to that.
I see. So moving now from the meal itself to the threat to your security, can we move to paragraph 9.5? In a telephone call to the writer on Wednesday evening, the 25th of May, and the writer is Bob Lambert, he complained that he was being denied a legitimate opportunity to speak to Andy. In the circumstances, he said he would have no alternative but to contact Andy via Robin Lane. Again, he said his purpose was to warn him of the danger he faced. And then at 9.6 goes on to say that you were currently on annual leave at the time, reporting back for duty in 2 days' time on the 31st of May, when the matter would be discussed with you. Was the matter discussed with you?
That would appear to be right. My memory isn't great on that, but I guess there was feedback, yeah. That would be entirely appropriate. It looks like I'm commenting there, which says, no, I'm not bothered because Robin has rather more regard for me, and because I reported what that conversation was with him, he said he thinks he's an SB spy anyway.
But if he was suspected of being a spy himself and he wanted to contact you, that would have given rise to suspicions, wouldn't it?
Yeah, helpful to avoid that if possible, but I think I was probably better established than he ever was, let me put it that way.
Mr. Lane has denied ever expressing such a suspicion to you. Are you sure that it was him who did so?
Yeah.
Did Chitty ever try to contact you?
I wasn't aware of it, no. He never tried to contact me directly, as far as I know. It would have been hard. I only had a pager number, which he probably didn't have. He didn't know where I lived.
And what is your view as to how well your management handled the threat of compromise that arose from Mike Chitty's threats?
Well, I wasn't compromised, and I continued my deployment, so fine.
Could we take that down and go now in the same file, sir, to tab B, little 1, 29, document 746098. This is a branch note dated the 1st of June 1994. It's signed by the then Assistant Chief Superintendent.
Acting Chief, yeah.
Sorry, Acting Chief Superintendent, HN 337. And it's essentially the note of a meeting at which the Acting Chief Superintendent came and spoke to the SDS about the threat posed by Mike Chitty. Do you recall being present?
I do remember it, yes. I remember some fairly colourful language about the betrayal.
A strong sense of anger about
How dare he, that sort of
Chitty's
thing, yeah.
behaviour.
Yeah.
Was the feeling that managers were going to do everything in their power to protect the operational security of the SDS?
Yeah.
The same question that I asked you essentially about SDS management. What was your impression of senior management's handling of this issue?
Yes, very happy with that response, yeah.
Can we take that down now, please? Different topic. File 1, tab B, little 1, 33, 745 796. This is a branch note headed Operation Borehole, 22nd of July 1994. I'll let you orientate yourself with the document. If we could have the central text expanded, please. Thank you.
Yes.
So the context is police want to find Barry Horn.
Yes.
If we go to paragraph 3 specifically, 4 observation posts have been established in connection with this inquiry to locate Horn. 3 are mounted on the headquarters of McDonald's next to East Finchley Tube Station. What was your knowledge whilst you were deployed of contact between McDonald's as a company and Special Branch in relation to animal rights activity and other activist activity directed against the McDonald's company?
I would have had absolutely no knowledge of it or contact. I mean, that would have been handled by a completely different group. It might, I think it said they're SO13, so it might even have been a completely different department.
Was there any contact between the SDS and McDonald's?
No.
To protect them from the criminal activities of
No,
activists? No. Did you at any time have any personal contact with McDonald's security?
Ever? No, I don't think I have, no.
Did you know a man called Sid Nicholson?
In what context,
He
sorry?
was a former senior police officer who went to work for McDonald's security in a senior capacity.
I can remember a D.S. Nicholson. I don't know if it's the same person.
From about when?
Well, no, D.I. Nicholson, actually, when he left. It was prior to my deployment, I think. I remember him as a member of the branch.
How far back? 80s, 90s?
Yeah, around that sort of time. I don't know if it's the same person, but I do remember D.I. Nicholson, yeah.
Was there any discussion in the safe house about the MacLibel case?
Not especially. I mean, I did go to one of their meetings, but that was not a sort of discussion within management. It just came up as one event to go to that was part of what was going on in terms of animal rights in London.
When you say an event to go to, could you expand on that, please?
I think it may have just been advertised at London Animal Action or an LBAG meeting that's coming up. I remember it was the two individuals concerned were talking about the current state of play with the case, I think.
Did you go?
Yes.
Did you report on it,
Possibly, yes.
orally or in writing?
I would guess by report. I don't know if I was the only one there either. I'm not sure, but I remember being there.
And why were you reporting on the defence of a libel claim?
I think I was reporting on what they were saying in a public meeting.
About the defence of a libel claim?
About the case, yeah.
What was the policing value in that?
I suppose the people that went there were people who were actively involved and interested. And both very high-profile individuals were involved, so it's worthwhile to report what they were saying.
Do you know what was done with your reporting?
No.
Might it have been used to inform McDonald's of what was being done to defend the claim?
I don't know. I'm unlikely, but I don't know.
Thank you. Can we take that down, please? You had some involvement with a group, LARC, or sometimes ARC-L,
Yes.
Animal Rights Coalition, London.
Yes.
And that eventually amalgamated into London Animal Aid.
Action?
Sorry, London Animal Action with LBAG.
I think so, yeah. And it's, calling them grand names, it's actually just a group of individuals coming together. It eventually settled as London Animal Action.
So London Animal Action, that leads into my next question. Did it have a core of about 10 people?
There might be some reporting to that effect, yeah.
And held monthly meetings?
Yeah, it's like a continuance of the LBAG meetings, but the Boots action side of it had been dropped for more broader aims, I think.
25 to 30 people might attend one of their meetings?
Sounds familiar, yeah.
Shared an office with London Greenpeace?
Yes.
Unconditionally supportive of the ALF,
I'd say so.
but not itself an organisation that was institutionally involved in crime?
Exactly. The name was clean, the individuals within it were pretty dirty.
All of them or just some of them?
Hard to say.
And what? I've been very careful with names.
Yes.
In relation to how many of them did you have specific knowledge that they were involved in criminal activity to advance the cause of animal rights?
I think individuals that in the past I'd been involved with in ALF actions.
So how many would that be, approximately?
Probably half a dozen.
As you say, a much broader group than LBAG, involved in a wide variety of campaigning activities to promote animal welfare.
Yes, but also a great collection point for animal activists around the city. It was like a social club as well as an activists group.
And how rowdy or otherwise were their demonstrations?
We're all pretty practiced at it by that stage, so I think probably fairly effective.
Lawful or criminal?
Mostly lawful, I would think, yeah.
In terms of your role within the organisation, the inquiry has heard evidence in response to your witness statement that you didn't work on the newsletter. What is your response to that?
I helped with the early ones. I had the computer and I had the software and the ability to do it, so I know. I didn't continue for very long, but I did get involved, I think, in the early part of the organisation.
What did you do to contribute to the newsletter?
Gosh, I can't remember. Can I just refer to my statement to refresh my memory? I'm not entirely sure.
I'm only interested in your recollection now.
Okay,
We've got your statement and we can rely on that.
Right, okay.
Organising meetings, it suggested you didn't play a role doing that.
No, I think by that stage I was involved in other things. I was turning up as a member.
And deciding what was news.
Yeah, there was always a demand for material to go in the column inches, and occasionally I wrote something. There may have been some reporting about the vivisectionist doing something horrendous, and so you would write something about that, for example. But I can't recall specific. No, I can't recall specific things that I wrote.
And it's been suggested that you are not a London Animal Action organiser.
Towards the end of my deployment, I reduced my involvement. I think early days I was involved.
Can I move now to a completely different matter? Back to Hunt Sabotage, Essex, 1994.
Yes.
Could we have Volume 8, C311 746 075, please? This is a report dated the 11th of October 1994, and it's advance intelligence about the fox hunting season for 1994-1995. Now, the background to this hunting season was the change in the law, wasn't it? Criminal Justice and Public Order Act.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
If we look at paragraph 2, it is one of the intentions of Hunt saboteurs to make a strong stand against the Criminal Justice Bill and its criminalisation of trespass by maintaining business as usual. Is that a sentiment that you would have reported?
Yeah, I think so.
In paragraph 3, one of the most committed sabotage groups, the Brixton Hunt Saboteurs Group, has resolved the transportation problems that restricted its activities last season, and it now has at least one Land Rover operational.
Yeah.
Over the page, paragraph 4, principal hunt sabotage groups are West London Hunt Saboteurs Group, which is capable of pulling out 30 to 40 saboteurs, and the Brixton Group, which is normally 10 to 20 strong on its outings. Other groups in the region include, they're then listed, at a regional hit on a fox hunt in excess of 150 hunt saboteurs can be expected to turn out. Now, this is a report signed by DCI Edmondson, who was then in charge of the SDS, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Is this based on your reporting?
I think not just me, probably HM1 as well. It looks like a combined report.
We heard yesterday that your targeting plan was to let the hunt sabotage fall away at a relatively early stage and move into targeting the ALF.
Yes.
Why is it that you are being drawn back into reporting or contributing to reports on hunt sabotage in 1994?
It's this resurgence and the effect of the groups trying to undermine the new legislation, I think, was exercising people's minds and believing that there would be significant disorder as a result. If I remember rightly, that's why I got drawn back into it. I thought I managed to escape all of that, but I think I was back again.
And in order to get this intelligence on the ground, what does that mean in practice? Does that mean you're spending more time going to Brixton squats?
Not just there, chatting to SABs and people in some positions of authority that could give me the sort of more strategic information about what was planned.
But this is a different cohort of people to those you had been reporting on in 92 and 93, overlapping?
Overlapping, yeah. Some would have been the same people. There may have been new people on the block. I'm not entirely sure, and I don't think it's just me reporting this.
Now, if we go, please, in the same bundle, sir, to tab C317, document number 745541. This is the report about the day itself. It's right that you attended this hunt sabotage, this mass hit.
Yes.
In what role did you participate?
Just as a SAB.
Did you drive?
I'm not sure, actually. I'm just wondering whether I was driving the Brixton Land Rover or whether I was driving my van. I'm not sure. There's so many SABs that I've been to, it's all a bit of a blur.
That answer suggests some uncertainty 3 decades later about precisely which vehicle you were driving. But can I infer from that answer that your recollection is that you were driving something?
My best guess is I was driving the van. I mean, I think that's probably what happened, because I probably wasn't driving. If it was just one Land Rover available, then there was one person who loved to drive that vehicle, and that would have been him that would have done that.
But presumably, if this was a mass hit and therefore a big call-out, there would have been a demand for transport.
Exactly, yes.
The first substantive paragraph, some 22 members of the Brixton Hunt Saboteurs Group participated with some 350 other SABs in this mass sabotage attack on the Essex Farmers Hunt on the 19th of November. The participants assembled at South Mimms service station on the M25A1 intersection. The Essex Farmers Hunt was selected as a target at the assembly point, primarily because Privacy, a local hunt SAB organiser, had obtained details of the hunt's meeting plans. Can you recall going to South Mimms service station?
Yeah, I think I do, yeah.
Is the intelligence about numbers and the reason for this hunt being targeted information that has come from you?
I'm not entirely sure about that.
The saboteurs' vehicles left South Mimms in convoy and headed for the Essex Farmers meeting place at Little Easter, Essex. One of the BHSG vehicles was taken off the road because it had no road tax displayed. The other, driven by HSA Walter, took back roads to approach the hunt from a different direction to the majority of saboteurs.
Yes.
Which vehicle was taken off the road?
My guess would be the Pig, which would have been the smaller Land Rover. I'm guessing here because I think the early reporting was that they had transport problems. I know the Beast was the big Land Rover that was pretty functional. The Pig, the smaller one, used to fall apart occasionally.
So would it be reasonable for us to proceed on the basis you were still driving your van?
Yeah, that does sound right, yeah.
Was Walter driving the other Land Rover?
That's what the report says. I'm not sure I can remember that.
And presumably you're not sure whether it's your contribution to this report or
I'm not entirely
somebody
sure,
else's.
no.
The hunt was found near Mashbury Road, and the Brixton saboteurs left their vehicle and ran towards the hunters. At this stage, police moved in and arrested several of the BHSG members who were handcuffed and placed in a prison van. Once full, this vehicle drove off, taking the prisoners to Chelmsford and O'Harlow police stations. Tempers flared among those SABs remaining once it became clear that police were arresting any saboteur who left the road or who remonstrated with officers. This prompted more aggressive confrontation with police and more violent assaults.
Yeah.
To what extent had the actions of the hunt saboteurs been pre-planned?
Yeah, that's a difficult one to. It's not as if you've got a particularly focused plan. It's let's go down and disrupt the hunt. People would have had maps. People would have got out to charge in and try to obstruct the hunt when they saw it moving through the field.
And to what extent would experienced saboteurs simply being following established practice?
I think you get braver when you've got lots of you around, and they might have been more aggressive in their approach.
And can we take it if one of the Brixton hunt saboteurs group vehicles had broken down that your van and the other Land Rover were pretty full of people?
I would imagine so, yes.
I'm being told that your witness statement says that you pulled up in the BHSG Land Rover. Can I
Right.
take it that your oral evidence today is likely to be more reliable, having been taken through it step by step?
Now, what I think has happened is that I've parked my van up and we're running around in the field, and then as things go, you get picked up in various vehicles by various subgroups. I'm wondering whether that's more accurate, but I'm struggling here.
Did you witness the arrests?
I think I was one of the first arrested. Well, very early on, certainly.
Could you describe to us, first of all, the moments leading up to your own arrest and what happened when you were arrested?
From what I can remember, the hunt was coming from right to left in front of us across the field. We were on a road here, and then the police started arriving in numbers, and I thought, this looks like there's going to be a swoop, I better get out of the way. Took to running across the field to get out of the way, and unfortunately that was taken by an officer to be an attempt to disrupt the hunt, and he grabbed me and arrested me fairly quickly.
How could that action of running away from the hunt?
No, running away from the police towards where the hunt were.
You were running towards the hunt.
I was, yes, that's right.
But if I've understood your evidence, your motive for running away was to escape the police.
Try not to be arrested so I could provide more intelligence later on, because there was clearly some sort of swoop being planned, yeah.
Were you running on your own or with other people?
I think I started to run because I saw the problem coming before others. I think that's right.
Did anyone follow you?
I'm not entirely sure.
Was the man we are calling Walter anywhere near you when you were arrested?
I was face down in the dirt. I didn't see anybody else around me.
Before or after?
I was in the prison van that parked up, and I had no other view.
Before?
Sorry, I'm not entirely sure.
AFJ, the man we're calling AFJ?
Sorry, let me just quickly check that. He would have been there, certainly.
What can you recall of his presence?
I'm pretty sure it's the same. I'm not sure it is the same hunt now, but I think an earlier incident took place where there was a confrontation between officers near I think, a farm when the officers were attacked by the Brixton crew, and one officer had a leg broken. I mean, this is my memory. I'm not sure if it is the same hunt. I'm pretty sure it is, because that was the most aggressive thing we'd been to. And I was at the back of the crowd when that happened. I remember that. But that was earlier than my arrest.
Well, what I'm interested in...
Or was it... No, that was the Essex hunt, sorry.
What I'm interested in is whether he was anywhere near you when you were arrested.
It's possible that we were a Brixton group close to each other. That is possible, yeah. Or was he the one running towards the hunt? I can't remember, sorry.
Whether or not you saw his arrest.
I don't remember it, no.
Are you able to help us with why other saboteurs were running towards the hunt?
I remember horns being blown, and the effort was to disrupt the hunt's progress across the field. They're all running towards the hunt.
Did it have anything to do with avoiding the police swoop?
I don't think so, no, because there was that action of movement towards the hunt. I was on the roadway. Then the police came to the swoop, and I thought, arrests are going to take place. I must get out of the way. So I think that's the way it worked.
Can we move over the page in the report? Top paragraph, please. It was later reported that 2 of the SABs involved in an assault which left a police officer unconscious had been privacy, an alias of privacy. Privacy is said to have taken the fallen officer's telescopic truncheon. Both escaped arrest. Some of the saboteurs noted the numbers of officers who had, in their opinion, treated SABs in a particularly rough manner, and these officers were being lined up for retaliation later in the day. Is this the incident that you gave evidence about a moment ago involving an officer suffering a broken leg?
I think that's the same, yes. I remember it as being a broken leg, but unconscious, yeah, absolutely.
That isn't said here to have involved AFJ at all.
No.
Is this your reporting, or is this intelligence that's come from somebody else?
I'm not sure. I mean, that sounds like that's a later discussion after we've got back to Brixton and people are sort of venting their spleen about the police activities of the day. That's what it sounds like to me.
You are arrested, as you say. You are taken into custody.
Yeah.
You had discussed with your managers, and in particular DCI Edmondson, what you were going to do if you were arrested.
Yes, that's right.
And that's presumably...
I had a plan.
Presumably because there was a high risk of arrest.
Yes.
And is it right that at this stage in the SDS's history, officers were being told that if you end up in court, that it may well be the end of your deployment?
Yes.
So was the thinking that you, running a high risk of arrest, you had to have a way of being arrested but not ending up in court?
I think the reason why I was trying to get out of the way was to avoid that situation ever developing, yeah.
But if the worst happened and you were arrested, you had to have a plan.
There was a plan, yeah.
And the plan was directed at avoiding you having to appear in court.
I think that was the end result. I don't think that it was formulated at that stage.
Well, can you help us with what the motivation behind the plan was?
I planned to use not my false name, but a false name, and not my false address, but a false address. Apologies for the complication.
No, that is perfectly clear.
Right.
Whose idea was that?
Well, the false address was one that was provided for SABs by the Hunt SABs themselves. It was like the bail address if you got arrested and you wanted to have an address that wasn't your own. And I came up with a name and discussed that with DCI Evidence, as far as I can remember, as a way of getting around the issue of being arrested under my operational name. So
I'm getting the impression that it's a case of you going to Edmondson and saying, I might get arrested. If I do, this is what I'm proposing to do. Are you happy? Is that...
There is a discussion that takes place, yeah.
It's not the other way round?
Could be, actually, but I'm thinking it's from me to him rather than the other way round.
You give the false address, the false address, and the false name.
Yeah.
Could we have a look, please, in volume 3, B2, Roman numeral 2, number 4, 526749, please. And could we go to page 2, please? Arrest of SDS undercover officer Andy Coles. I'll give you a moment to familiarise yourself with the text.
Yeah.
Paragraph 1 records your arrest and charge.
Yes.
It says at the end of that paragraph, at no time was his role as an undercover police officer revealed or compromised.
Yes.
Can I take it from the fact that that is put right at the start of this report written by DCI Edmondson on the 22nd of November, that the overarching priority was maintaining the operational security of the SDS?
Yes.
The charge is then set out at paragraph 1.2, and you've been charged under Section 68 of the Criminal Justice and Public Order Act, the very provision that's at this underlying issue at the sabotage. Paragraph 2.2, please. DS Coles attended the demonstration as a member of the Brixton Hunt Saboteurs Group, well known as a violent, confrontational organisation. The group, numbering 22, joined approximately 350 other Hunt saboteurs and decided to disrupt the Essex Hunt. So that seems to have been taken straight from the report we
Yes.
looked at
Yeah.
earlier.
That seems to suggest that I was the sole person reporting as well from that particular paragraph.
2.3, at 11:45, DS Coles was amongst a group of saboteurs who arrived at the scene and immediately left their vehicle to run across open fields towards the Hunt. No mention of a police swoop there.
No, it's a highly summarised report, but yeah.
But it does go on to say, police officers chased after them.
Yes.
PC Anonymous chased DS Coles, grabbed his coattails and pulled him to the ground. After a short struggle, DS Coles was handcuffed and taken into custody together with other activists from Brixton. In all, 33 saboteurs were arrested during the course of the day.
Yeah.
DS Coles uninjured. Presumably that's a nod to your welfare
Yes.
and to the fact that arrests at Hunt sabotagers could be pretty rough.
Yeah. Yeah. It could be quite uncomfortable.
Was taken by prison van to Chelmsford Police Station, where he was duly processed. In keeping with the best traditions of his saboteur group, he gave false details to the police, in your case, false details to the police, describing himself as Christopher Andrew Jones, date of birth the 13th of February 1964, of Plato Road, Brixton. Is that the name that you gave?
Yes. I didn't use the first name, though. That was a silent Christopher.
So, Andrew Jones.
That's how I was described, yeah.
And then at the end of that paragraph, entirely in accordance with contingency plans agreed with me prior to the event, which we've spoken about already.
Yes. Yeah.
At 2.5, again, in keeping with his cover role, DS Coles asked to speak to a solicitor primed in advance to act for arrested activists. He eventually spoke to the solicitor and was advised to make no comment in interview, advice he adhered to.
Yes.
So this is the same solicitor who's advising a number of arrested persons?
Yeah, I think I remember his name as well, but yes, it was someone the HSA advised would be a very useful contact.
Were you advised in a group or individually?
I have a feeling there was some sort of briefing at South Mims.
Legal briefing?
Quasi-legal briefing, yeah, about what to do on the day. And you'd normally get a note which would say, and this is the duty solicitor at the bottom with the phone number.
Right. And that's essentially to inform you of your rights.
That's right, yeah.
With a view to staying on the right side of the law and asserting your rights if arrested.
Exactly, yeah, that's right.
I'm interested in, my question was directed at once you'd been arrested and the legal advice you were given to exercise your right
to silence.
Right to silence.
Yeah.
Were you given that advice alone, or were you given that advice in a group?
No, that was during the phone call. That came from the solicitor.
So on the telephone?
If you're arrested, this is the solicitor's number, would be the briefing, and then at the time on the phone, that's what he advised me to do.
I see. So just to you?
Yes, it was just a private phone call.
And of course, the solicitor had no idea that the person they were actually advising was an undercover police officer.
Good advice, though.
Whilst you were in custody, did you speak to either Walter or AFJ?
I was in a shared cell, but
I'm being reminded that Walter wasn't arrested.
No.
Did you speak to AFJ?
Not in the same cell. As far, I think there were 3 or 4 of us in the same cell. I don't think people from other subgroups I seem to remember. It was quite a long wait. We played ball with mud from our boots for about 3 or 4 hours while we were waiting to be seen. That's that I remember.
Did you use that opportunity as an intelligence gathering exercise?
I might have had some information from people, just having a chat about who they were, where they were from, and so on. That's possible, yeah.
Were you keeping your ears open in case anybody said anything that would be of relevance to future legal proceedings?
To do with the arrests?
Yeah.
No. We thought that we might be recorded, so there was quite guarded conversation in the cell.
You were then ultimately bailed, weren't you?
That's right, yeah.
If we go to the bottom of the page, paragraph 4, 4.1, in a separate incident at the Hunt, a police officer was injured in an attack by Hunt saboteurs in D.S. Coles's report, circulating separately and subject to caveat on dissemination. He provides intelligence concerning the identities of suspects and other important matters. So we're back to the matter we looked at from the report, but this seems to attribute the intelligence to you.
I think this is post-event reporting when I've had a chance to meet up with everyone and discuss what happened and picking up whatever information people had to say about what happened. That's my best guess.
Do you know whether there was any arrest or trial in relation to the assaults on the police officer?
No.
No, you can't remember, or no, there wasn't?
No, I can't remember.
Future action, paragraph 5. Thank you. D.S. Coles is scheduled to leave the field in February 1995. Plans for his departure are in train. His arrest does not complicate matters. It is suggested that he may simply fail to appear at court. That would certainly be in keeping with his cover role. In the event that a warrant is issued for his arrest, service would not be affected, as he is given a false name and address. By February, D.S. Coles, the activist, will be known within the Hunt Sab animal rights community to have left the country. Thus, the matter would remain harmlessly on file for an appropriate period. Departure from the field is an important and delicate operation when the officer is a leading personality within the ALF. I am satisfied that D.S. Coles is handling the matter of withdrawal with the utmost care and attention. The arrest incident may prove to be of operational assistance. So you can see there that the plan is that you are going to fail to appear at court,
Yeah.
and because you are about to withdraw from your deployment, your false persona will never be tracked down and
That's right.
arrested. Can you help us with the circumstances in which that plan was hatched?
I think post-arrest we had this discussion about how best to handle it. And the fact I'd sort of largely withdrawn from animal rights activity, it just made sense to follow my extraction strategy and just disappear in February, and it fitted quite nicely.
In that answer, who was we?
I'm guessing it's the office management and myself.
So who does that mean in practice? DCI Edmondson?
Yes, it does, yeah.
And the DI?
Probably, yeah. And maybe a DS or two also involved in the conversation.
Whose idea is it?
This was the management decision.
That's not quite the same thing. Whose idea was it?
So his idea was to propose this.
Yes.
The management proposed this as a way out.
And then the management proposed and authorised.
Exactly. I think that's right.
What was your view?
I was quite happy because I was about to go anyway. I wasn't going on another SAB. That was another great opportunity to keep away from all of that.
And the last sentence of the report that we've just read, arrest incident may prove to be of operational assistance. That is essentially what you've been saying. From an SDS point of view, it was regarded as a good way of helping to cover your extraction.
Yeah, it gave me an excuse not to be involved in some of these later SABs, mass SABs and so on, because I would have been arrested and then locked up. So I had great reasons not to get involved.
And so I just want to explore with you what it was envisaged would happen. You had been bailed,
Yes,
charged with an offence,
yes,
summoned to appear, bailed to appear at the Magistrates' Court,
Yes.
Chelmsford.
yeah,
You're not going to turn up.
yeah.
You would expect the police to apply for a warrant for your arrest
I think one was applied for, yeah.
to the court.
I would guess so.
So the court is being asked to issue a warrant for the arrest of Christopher Andrew Jones, who is in fact Andrew Cole's a police officer.
Yes.
And warrant issued.
I'm not entirely sure. The item would lay on file, sticks in my mind as something that came up as part of this process. But the details of this I'm not entirely sure because I wasn't really made aware of it.
Court misled as to your identity.
This is a possibility, yes.
It's not a possibility, is it?
If a warrant was issued, that is the de facto case, yes, exactly.
When you and your managers were hatching this plan, was any thought given to the fact that it would involve misleading the court?
I remember it was a discussion about was it a practical thing rather than the legal matters.
I take that as a no.
I'm sorry, I can't remember.
Can we go to the next page, please, which is sets out the charge. Thank you. If we could expand the bit right at the top of the page, please. Person charged, Jones, Christopher, Andrew. That's your full false name, isn't it?
Yes.
Is that because you in fact gave them your full false name?
We had a long discussion about the use of Christopher with the custody officer. He said, no, it's not my name. I don't use that name. And it was something of a discussion. I gave him my full name, but said I don't use the Christopher.
So you gave the full false name?
Full false name, sorry, yes.
You've described speaking to your immediate SDS managers about the plan to not appear at court. Do you know whether or not any more senior managers were consulted on this issue?
I don't know. I wasn't made aware of that.
From your experience, is it likely that it happened?
I honestly don't know. It's the first experience I've had of being put into this situation.
Could we take down this document and have up from file 7, tab 222. Gosh, my juniors produced quite a lot of notes. 22105. _002. This is a up-to-date and information proforma dated the 26th of January 1993, so approximately 10 months earlier. You'll see on the right-hand side of the page, halfway down, it's attributed to you. This is a report about a Christopher, and we've redacted the middle name, Christopher Jones, or Chris, a voluntary worker at 56A Info Shop Collective. And if we look at the text, it says, subject is the mainstay of the 56A bookshop, and he is prepared to spend many fruitless hours manning the premises. He recently moved to his new address in privacy to be closer to the shop, and also because his old flat was due for demolition. Privacy, privacy. Although he is by nature a mild-mannered and inoffensive individual who is far more interested in theoretical anarchism than in street confrontation, subject is not enamoured of the animal rights struggle, and he only allows animal rights material to be sold in the shop because of pressure exerted by his co-workers, Privacy and AFJ. Is this individual's name the name that you adopted?
No, I think I just came up with it myself.
Are you asserting that it is simply a coincidence that you
Yes.
adopted the name Christopher or Chris Jones?
Andrew Jones, but with a silent Christopher. Yeah, I had no intention to try to refer the offence to any other person.
And a coincidence that this person also is known colloquially as Christopher.
I wasn't known as colloquially as Christopher, I was known as Andy.
You're known as Andy
Yeah,
Van.
yeah.
Are you sure there was no coincidence between the use of these names?
Only insofar as it might have been in the back of my mind and it popped up as a possible name, but there was no intention to link it to this individual, no.
Ironic, given that he was not enamoured of the animal rights.
No, quite right, quite right.
Can we take that down, please? Can we go to, in volume 2, to tab B, little 1, 25, 526, 756. Can we have page 6, please? This is the SDS policy guidelines regarding participation in crime. Is this a document that you can recall seeing or being told about?
I'm not entirely sure. It sounds a bit more, there's an HO memo that I do remember. It's possible that I saw this, yeah.
If you saw it, when would you have seen it?
Initially, when I started the deployment.
And would it have been the sort of document that was available in the office if needed?
I would have thought so, yeah.
If we look at the document, starting with the second paragraph down, no SDS officer will counsel, incite or procure the commission of a crime.
Yeah.
Where an SDS officer obtains information about the intention of others to commit a crime in which they intend that he/she shall play a part, his/her participation will only be allowed to continue where he or she does not actively engage in planning and committing the crime. He/she is intended to play only a minor role.
Yeah.
Translating this to the Good Easter hunt,
Yes.
you are driving hunt saboteurs to a hunt which is deliberately designed to test the new legislation, and where it is clearly envisaged that there may be arrests for breach of that legislation,
Yes.
including your own arrest.
That was unfortunate, but yes, that's right. There was a risk of it.
C, his/her participation is essential to enable police to prevent a crime or to frustrate the principal criminals by such as a serious breach of the Queen's peace, or to frustrate the principal criminals by providing information which leads to their arrest, albeit for lesser offences, before injury is done to any person or serious damage to property. Your participation in the Good Easter hunt was not going to lead to those results, was it?
Not in those terms. No, I don't think it did.
Why were you attending that hunt?
I think it was because it was such a new departure that they wanted coverage, and I was asked to cover it, which I did.
As you mentioned before, because the law was going to be tested.
Exactly, yeah.
D, at no time will an SDS officer act as an agent provocateur.
Indeed.
At no time will an SDS officer commit himself, herself, to a course to mislead a court. This could include appearing on behalf of a defendant as a witness.
Yes.
Your managers, in discussion with you on your evidence, have committed you to a course to mislead a court. That
Right.
you were
I was not to appear, yeah.
Christopher Andrew Jones.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Did any suggestion that anybody had these policy guidelines in mind when the plan was hatched?
No.
And a clear breach?
Sounds like it, yeah.
Could we have from volume 1, please, divider A2, 735554. And thank you. This is a document we looked at yesterday. It's notes of an interview with Operation Hearn officers.
Yes.
Can I direct you to the bottom of the page where it says, arrested at least 3 times, trespass, Essex, Guildford, 1992, false details given, 1994, false details. On bail, John Hoochin, cover office.
Yeah.
The 1994 reference there is presumably to
Good Easter.
hunt.
Yes.
Can you help us with the 1992 incident?
I think this is when hunts were deploying hunt security. It was practice of the police to catch you and put you in a Black Maria and then release you at the end of the day, so it was like a police detention.
Can you recall where that happened?
I think I've said there, Guildford.
And you gave your
My usual
cover
cover
identity.
name. Yeah.
Did that lead to any interaction with the courts, or were
No,
you
none.
simply released at the release?
It's just a holding technique that was quite common at the time for police to control things.
It says at the line above, arrested at least 3 times. If we've got 92, 94, what was the other occasion?
I think these are other similar occasions during that time of the hunt security period, which was quite intense.
Did that result in any contact with the courts?
No, it's all about this police detention technique that they had.
Could we take that down now, please? Can we go in volume 5, tab 313 to 740033? Thank you. This is a report about Jeff Shepherd,
Yes.
dated the 8th of November 1994. Can we look first of all at the first substantive paragraph of text? Shepherd, an anarchist, animal rights extremist and social recluse, whilst in no way prepared to relax his obsessive hatred with the vivisection industry, recently has channeled his potent aggression into participation in demonstrations with a potential for serious disorder. Ample opportunity has been provided by the demonstrations connected with implementation of the Criminal Justice Bill, of which 3 examples serve to demonstrate Shepherd's current anti-establishment activities. And if we could go to the first of those, please. On Sunday, the 9th of October, Shepherd is said to have been personally involved in serious disorder during the latter stages of the anti-criminal justice bill riot, when criminal damage was done to shop windows in and around Oxford Street. Is this report based on your intelligence?
I doubt it very much. I don't remember this at all.
And whether or not it is, it would appear that this information, because of the use of the words "is said," is hearsay.
I would say that's right, yes.
If we go to subparagraph 2, 19th of October, subject attended the demonstration in and around Parliament with the sole intention of participating in any disorder which might ensue. Is this intelligence about Mr. Shepherd which has come from you?
No.
If we go to paragraph 3, I'll let you read it. Same question.
Again, probably not me.
Could we take that down, please? Is it right that your deployment ended in February 1995?
Yes, that's right.
And there was a leaving event.
A small party, that's right, yeah.
You were there. Mr. Gravett was there. Is
Yes.
that right?
I think so, yeah.
Who else, respecting privacy, was there?
Oh, crikey, just 1 second. No. Robin Lane was certainly there, and I think an ex-girlfriend of his was there, I remember. I'm struggling to remember, I'm sorry. Not very many people.
Mr. Lane was given evidence that he wasn't there.
Okay, he was.
So in your recollection, 4 people, including you.
More than that, but I'm struggling to remember who it was that was there.
How many people on your recollection?
We booked a table in a vegan restaurant. However many gets around a table, 8 perhaps. Wasn't very many.
The evidence we've heard from civilian witnesses is to the effect that it was yourself and Mr. Gravett. Is that right?
Just the 2 of us? No, there are a few more.
the evidence that we anticipate receiving in January is that when HN1 left the field, there was a very large party.
Right.
Are you able to help us with whether that is true or not?
No.
What would you say to the suggestion that your leaving party was very thinly attended because you had a reputation as a lecherous man and a sex pest?
Entirely wrong. No, I'd spent the entire year beforehand developing my exit strategy and reducing my contacts substantially.
So would that be a convenient moment to break for lunch?
Certainly. We'll resume at